Do you get that feeling whenever you buy a gun that you might have to navigate a legal maze designed by anti-gun idiots at some point? They say Murica needs even more red tape on gun control. They don't know we already have about 20,000 gun laws stretching from sea to shining sea, making firearms the most hoop-jumping required item for any American. If you dive into the federal archives, we've got the 1968 Gun Control Act and the 1934 National Firearms Act leading the charge. The GCA is pretty straightforward, keeping guns out of the hands of felons, while the NFA takes a closer look at machine guns, sawed-off shotguns, etc. And if you ever get your hands on the ATF's 468-page summary of state and local firearms regulations, you'll see that of America's 50 states, 5 are responsible for a third of that document, namely Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and of course, Commie Fornia. Heck, Commie Fornia's contributions alone fill up almost 70 pages of eye-straining fine print. With regulations stacking up like this, there's no way the average Joe could keep up. So we decided, why don't we do a little public service? Take you guys on a wild ride through 10 of the stupidest anti-gun laws in America. Knowing about these is like passively giving anti-gun libtards and our beloved ATF the middle finger they so deserve. Let's dive right in. Number 1, gun-free zones. So libtards believe that if a bad guy with a gun sees a gun-free zone sign, he could decide not to commit a crime because the sign told him not to. On top of this, Representative Peter King from New York figured that the tragic shooting in Tucson, Arizona, where 6 people were killed and Representative Gabby Giffords was supposedly injured, that it would be a great idea to turn every elected official into a walking, talking, gun-free bubble. The plan? Slap a no-gun zone around them with a 1,000-foot radius. King must have thought that if there had been an invisible shield around Giffords, Jared Lee Loughner would have been stopped in his tracks at the grocery store parking lot. Here's the hiccup. Unless I've missed a memo that includes a headshot of all 535 members of Congress, figuring out when I'm within 1,000 feet of one seems like a bit of a stretch. Number 2, concealed carry mumbo-jumbo. Illinois and Wisconsin are the classroom holdouts when it comes to recognizing the right to sneak a firearm under your jacket, with the rest of the country offering a mix of yays and nays on concealed carry. Some places, like New York with its old-school Sullivan Act, make you jump through hoops for a permit, giving local cops the power to say yay or nay on who gets to carry a hidden piece. It's a system ripe for creative interpretations, not to mention the potential for wallet-draining fees and the patient's testing wait times. Then there's the no-fuss crew, Alaska, Vermont, Arizona, and Wyoming, where the vibe is more carry if you dare, no permit required. But don't think it's all smooth sailing. Commie Fornia plays by its own rules where a perfectly good permit can run into a brick wall of local bans on carrying, and even restrictions on ammo. CCW regulations varying from state to state could easily lead to upstanding citizen to accidentally break the law. Number 3, no interstate moves allowed. Hauling your life and guns to a new state? Brace yourselves for a headache. In New York, for example, the moment you set foot in this communist state, your grace period for handgun possession is a whopping 0 days. Yes, 0. So even with a clean carry permit and all your firearms neatly registered back where you came from, seeking a permit in New York turns you into an overnight illegal gun owner. Yeah, go figure. Bizarre, huh? Relocate and you might just have to part ways with your legally bought guns. Number 4, collectibles and replica mayhem. Thinking of collecting antique firearms? Well, it could accidentally land you in hot water thanks to a jumble of laws at every government level. Here's a fun fact. Owning ancient military pistols, like the famed broom handle, is cool and all, especially if they have a shoulder stock. Clip an original stock onto an authentic broom handle? Yeah, it's all good, but attach it to one of those Chinese knockoffs and bam! You're an instant felon. Unless you fork over $200 for a special stamp from the geniuses over at ATF. And that's only if your state, county, and city give the thumbs up. Makes you wonder, does an original broom handle with a shoulder stock really pose less of a risk than its look-alike with the same stock? Number 5, no more shooting ranges. In places like Chicago and Blairston, New Jersey, they've decided that gun ranges, whether it's your own backyard setup or a commercial venture, are a big no-no. Massachusetts takes it a step further, banning targets at ranges that look too human. The irony? One of the most effective ways to master safe firearm handling is by actually using one, preferably under the watchful eye of a pro, at a shooting range. Number 6, illegal parts. Tinkering with sporting rifles? Better stick to American-made parts because using anything imported is off limits. Imagine if we applied this American parts-only rule to everything we make. In California, they've decided a rifle with a pistol grip is a no-go, despite such grips being standard issue in militaries worldwide, including our own. So, while you might own an AK-47 legally, slap a pistol grip on it with a detachable mag and you're breaking the law. The workaround? Attach a bullet button or a mag lock to sidestep this rule, allowing magazine removal. Alternatively, swap out the pistol grip for a Monster Man grip might solve the problem, but at the cost of the rifle's original functionality. Here's the kicker. None of these hoops gun owners jump through actually impact the rifle's effectiveness. They're just hurdles that inconvenience owners and give anti-gun folks a sense of accomplishment. Number 7, assault weapons ban. The saga of the 1994 federal automatic weapons ban, a piece of history that's about as clear as mud. This gem decided an assault weapon was any gun sporting a detachable magazine and a pistol grip, sometimes jazzed up with extras like a folding stock or a muzzle brake. Given the mismatch of assault weapon definitions on the local, state, and federal level, even a muzzle loader sporting a bayonet could end up with this label. And why this makes me scratch my head? The ban tangled up in its own complexity, targeting firearms that weren't even in the assault weapon league. Stepping into the spotlight, anti-gunners like Rhode Island Democrat Representative David Cicilline, who's got a hankering to give the old ban a makeover. This guy's behind H.R. 1808, which Congress passed in July 2022. If it lands on Brandon's desk and gets the green light, it'll mark the return of the so-called assault weapons ban, a move that hasn't been seen since 2004. Seems our Democrat friends in Congress are no longer playing coy about their gun ban dreams. With a nail-biter vote of 217 to 213, including a couple of Republicans in favor and 5 Dems giving it the thumbs down, it's clear the debate's hotter than ever. So, what's the big deal with H.R. 1808 and why keep an eye on it? In short, it aims to put the kibosh on a whole laundry list of firearms from being sold, made, transferred, owned, or even brought into the country. You might be wondering, what kind of guns are we talking about? Hang tight. We'll dive into the gritty details soon. For now, let's just say the list is so long, it left me scratching my head, thinking, what's even left? Beyond the classics like single-stack 1911s, revolvers, pump-action shotties, and any gun tweaked to only take 10 rounds, it feels like everything else is off the table. Pretty much, if it's a cool gun made after 1911, it's probably on the no-fly list. Now, I know some of you who hate politics might dismiss it as scare tactics. But here's a thought. If the Senate gives this bill a thumbs up, owning a gun with a simple pick rail could theoretically land you in hot water. Why? Attach a forward grip and bam, you're in violation, thanks to the bill's fine print banning any firearm that can sport a forward grip. Number 8. Guns distribution. In the land of let's make it trickier for everyone, 4 states rule: Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, and again, Commie Fornia. They've decided that buying guns should be like subscribing to a monthly box service. A maximum of only 1 gun per month, please, and thank you. The logic? Apparently it's supposed to keep us safer on the assumption that your average villain is sitting around worrying about overstepping legal boundaries when amassing their arsenal. Spoiler alert, they're not. Instead, this rule ends up being a hurdle for law-abiding folks, limiting those who just want the freedom to add to their collection on their own schedule. But really, the anti-gunners behind this gun rationing are all living in a bubble. I mean, come on. With inflation hitting our economy hard since Brandon became POTUS, there's no way the average 2A advocate could possibly buy 1 gun per month. Number 9. Microstamping. Commie Fornia, the most Marxist state in the U.S., is never short on entertainment with its tone-deaf approach to the Second Amendment. The latest act, Senate Bill 452, aiming to put a halt to new handgun sales starting from 2027. Jumping through hoops to get a handgun approved in California isn't new, thanks to a pretty tight requirement list, with microstamping being one of the latest additions. Microstamping, a topic that's been hot in California for over a decade, since 2007 to be precise, has been stirring up debates left and right. New York decided to join the party last year, and now there's chatter about taking this rule national. Beyond the Second Amendment debates, privacy concerns are also at play here. If microstamping's a new term for you, it's essentially a laser etching a tiny mark on a gun's firing pin. The idea is that when a gun fires, this unique mark is left on the ejected casing, making it possible to trace the gun through this microscopic breadcrumb. Sounds like detective work straight out of a sci-fi flick, right? But here's where it's dumb. Law enforcement can already track bullets back to their guns through ballistics. Microstamping is supposed to make this easier, but major gun manufacturers like Smith & Wesson are calling bluff and not playing ball in California. They argue, why bother with microstamping when traditional ballistics does the job? For microstamping to truly work, every gun would need to be logged, much like car registrations. Yet, the practicality and privacy implications make this a tough pill to swallow for many. Microstamping is a fantasy cooked up by anti-gun folks who probably got a bit too inspired by some Judge Dredd movie. In real-world tests, the technology proved unreliable, with the etched serial numbers wearing off after just a few hundred rounds. Far short of the several thousand rounds a firing pin is expected to last. So, while Commie Fornia and the People's Republic of New York dream of a world where every bullet can be traced back to its shooter with just a glance at a spent casing, reality begs to differ. Number 10. More red tape, longer wait times. Introduced by the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act in 1993 and kicking off in 1998, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, or NICS for short, is the go-to for FFLs across 30 states, a handful of territories, and D.C. This digital gatekeeper aims to quickly sift through potential buyers, flagging any with a sketchy past or reasons they shouldn't own a gun. Boasting the ability to juggle 150 transactions a minute, NICS promises a swift check, typically wrapping up in under 2 minutes. Why it's dumb? Because despite the word instant being front and center in its name, a dozen states and the District of Columbia slap on a waiting period, stretching from a day to a fortnight, even after NICS gives the thumbs up. So much for instant gratification.